All right. So the name of my TED Talk is called The Power of Relationships in Education. Before I share my story, I have a few questions for all of you. The first question is, raise your hand if one of your former teachers played an important, positive role in your life. Okay, you can put your hands down. Now, raise your hand if one of your former teachers played a negative role. Okay, put your hands down. As all of you just saw, people raised their hands for both questions. There were plenty of hands up. The truth of the matter is, the relationships built with our former teachers, whether it was in elementary, middle, or high school, have played an important role in our lives. Our former teachers were either humorous, strict, encouraging, cool, unorganized, and the list goes on. But regardless of these characteristics, one of the main takeaways that we, as former students, will forever remember is either the positive or negative influence our relationship with former teachers have left upon us. So I'm sharing all of this because I had two teachers that played a significant role in my life. When I was a senior in high school, applying to college was not a priority for me. I never really considered myself one of the intelligent, capable ones in my classes because my grades were not the best, and I performed horribly on the ACT. So, why aspire for higher education if I am not good enough? This changed once I met my English teacher. My English teacher was a first-year graduate from this university. She was definitely my most inexperienced teacher since she had never taught before, yet alone in the inner city. However, a special quality of hers was that she genuinely wanted to build relationships with her students. One day, while going to her after-school tutoring, she asked me, "Abel, are you applying to college?" For what I replied, "Yes, maybe. I don't know." But really what I was thinking was, why do you care? Why are you answering me this? She then encouraged me to maybe think about applying to the University of Michigan. And if I needed any help, to let her know. To be honest, I knew absolutely nothing about U of M. So damn right, the first thing I did when I got home was log on my computer and do some research on this university. So after doing some research and reading about its location, its prestige, and rigorousness, I decided to apply and asked for her help the following day. She not only agreed, but also offered to help me with filling my application and financial aid forms. And she even offered to help me edit my 3 essays. For some reason, U of M has 3 essays. So many, it's like, okay, but anyways. Now, it's like, why? Now, you have to understand that I was not aware of the process that involves applying to college or financial aid because my parents and our older siblings, they could not help much either since they had never done it themselves and they can't speak or understand English well. So, as you can imagine, I was beyond delighted and excited by her offer to help. Could I be the first person in my family to go to college? The thought of embarking a new yet unknown journey thrilled me until one of my other teachers found out I was applying. In her opinion, I should not apply to U of M because I was not prepared enough for such a rigorous school, nor had the GPA and ACT scores to get in. She then stated how even if I got accepted, that didn't mean I would graduate from this university because of how challenging it was. She advised me not to waste my time and instead go to a community college. After hearing these comments, all I remember was feeling like a delusional failure. I thought that she was right. Maybe I shouldn't apply to U of M because I was not smart enough. As you may imagine, I was completely discouraged until my English teacher noticed there was something wrong because that's one of the many qualities that sets teachers apart, right? Noticing. So after I told her that what my other teacher told me, she told me something I would never forget. She said, Abel, what she said is right. U of M is challenging and difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if your first year there was uncomfortable, challenging, and you failed an exam or two. But you do not lose anything by applying. So don't be afraid to take a risk and believe in yourself. This is not just the encouragement that I needed to apply, but the encouragement I needed to finally believe in myself. Luckily, a few months later, I found out I was accepted, and the rest is history. Now, was my discouraging teacher lying about my experience here at U of M being challenging and difficult? Definitely not. I remember my first year in Ann Arbor being the most uncomfortable and challenging year of my life. For the first time in 10 years, I left my home in Southwest Detroit and moved to a suburb where everything was alien-like. I went from being a majority in my community to becoming the only Latino in most of my courses in dorm. I went from being so immersed in my culture to experiencing the biggest culture shock of my life and feeling like an outsider. There's this memory from my freshman year when I was in a poli-sci discussion class, and one of my classmates commented on how Mexicans should all be deported because they bring drugs and firearms into the United States. We know who that guy is rooting for during this election, FYI. But something I want to emphasize is that this moment, it embodies what my whole first year felt like. Now, don't get me started on the coursework. Well, let's just say that my English teacher was right and I failed an exam or two. The important thing to emphasize here is that both of my teachers were being honest with sharing how difficult and challenging my experience would be. But while one chose to discourage me from taking a risk and believing in myself, the other teacher chose to care and built a relationship with not just me, but all of her students. She chose to motivate, inspire, challenge, and dream for all of her students. My story is just one of the countless relationships and major impact she made upon my classmates. So, future educators, never lose sight of what truly matters. Teaching and helping our students learn content is important, but if we do it without building a relationship with them, then are we really helping our students become successful? There is a really famous quote that many of you have probably heard. It says, "Teachers change the world one child at a time." I am a true believer of this quote, since I have been personally impacted by one of my teachers. But remember, that change cannot happen if we teachers do not build genuine and caring relationships with our students. So, let's build relationships in our future classrooms and change the world one child at a time. Thank you.